Hey everybody, Rosie here, back again. We're gonna do another Identity 5 Dead by Daylight comparison. Because the reason I'm doing this again is because when I did the last video, I didn't I don't want to say take seriously, but I didn't fully understand Identity 5 as like a competitive game, if you will. And now that I know more about it and have been playing it more, I understand it more as its own entity, enough to where I think some of the analysis that I gave it in terms of the meta, in terms of gameplay, weren't the most accurate. And I think the two games have enough differences in their meta and enough differences just in their core design that I think that's warrant another discussion based around them, if you will. As for which game is better, again, I'll just save that for the end. What I think needs to be addressed about the two games is the more you play them and the more you understand them, the most drastic difference of all of them that I kind of disagree with. I said that the metas were the same, and on the surface, that's completely true. If you're doing a surface level comparison, but like as you continue going up the ranks, and like here's the big thing, I got to watch footage of the game being played at top level. I know what the game looks like when it's played optimally now, and I can say that the killer meta is much different. The first thing I want to take some time and point out is I'm going to talk about terror shocks again. In my last video, I criticized the terror shock mechanic quite a lot as being unnecessary, stupid, and I don't know, I said a whole lot of things about the fact that it makes camping work. There was a lot of things I said about the terror shot mechanic, and looking back on it, I think a lot of the stuff that I said about it keeps camping being good. It continues, it helps people catch people one-hit vaulting at windows, like all that, everything that I said about it is correct, except one thing: my tone. My tone towards the mechanic was what was not correct. Because if you play Identity 5 more as its own individual entity and isolate it from Dead by Daylight entirely, pretend Dead by Daylight doesn't exist, and you look at the terror shot mechanic purely in Identity 5 as if Dead by Daylight doesn't exist, the mechanic needs to be there. And the reason I get so confused because there's a survivor called the mechanic. We're talking about Terror Shock. The reason Terror Shock needs to exist is because some of these survivors are absolutely insane. Look, Seer, dumb. Priestess, dumb. Magician, Perfumer, absolutely stupid. And some of these survivors, as I said, have the potential to kite the entire fucking match. And the ability to instant down them for a mistake near a vault, or a pallet, is a good thing. And can help the hunter, I'm saying hunter now, for Identity 5. I'm trying to get better at the game's terminology, because as I play it more, I understand that they do like their terminology and they take it seriously. So I'm even people that comment on my videos, Identity 5, they always refer to the killer as the hunter. So I'm trying to do that now too. The hunter can gain a lot of momentum with terror shocks, and if terror shocks weren't in the game, it would be a worse game. And it's gotten to the point that I actually think they need to buff terror shocking, and I will explain that later. But it helps deal with kiters, and kiters can give you such a hard time. And there are also characters who deserve to be terror shocked that aren't even kiters. The mechanic deserves to be terror shocked. Chairing that character is important. The Mind's Eye deserves to be terror shot. Chairing that character is important. Like, I mean, it's not so important that you shouldn't go out of your way to chair the mechanic on the Mind's Eye, but like, especially the mechanic, because she can still decode while she's seated in a chair. But like, for God's sakes, like like the Mind's Eye deserves to get terror shot because not only is she good at repairing, she's decent at kiting because of her ability allowing her to see the killer's aura through the walls basically at all times. So she's not the best kiter in the game because of her like fucking her debuffs, but like she deserves to have those debuffs and she deserves to get terror shocked because of that fact alone. So like everything I said about terror shocking, I don't agree with anymore. And there was even a comment on that video that pointed out, I was like, I did agree with mostly everything you said, but the terror shocking. And as I play Identity 5 more, terror shocking needs to be there. That doesn't mean it needs to be in Dead by Daylight. I don't think Dead by Daylight would benefit much from adding terror shocks to the game. I think the game, maybe I'm the guy who uses Medal of Man. Maybe Medal of Man should allow terror shocks to happen to you. That'd be cool. But yeah, terror shocking is not bad for the game. It's actually rather good for the game, and I honestly think they should buff it, and I'll explain how I think they should do that when I talk about survivors. Next. Another thing that, this is kind of my transition, solely, I blamed camping, the viability of camping, on the terror shock mechanic. That is not true. Like, it's like, terror shock certainly helps camping, but like, when you get there, it's a big mind game, and honestly, the survivors are so good at it, I usually lose it, because like, they bait you into taking a swing. Basically, it's the same thing in Dead by Daylight to avoid the catch, and the survivors are so good at it because they're conditioned to be, because the terror shock threat is there, so like, if you're playing Survivor, you're so good at these mind games, it's not even funny. So like, the reason that camping and tunneling and camping are, okay, not so much camping, like face camping the guy, but like, when you have somebody chaired in Identity 5, that person needs to die. Like, that person is your tunnel. You have to tunnel. Like again, none of those videos I watched, the competitive scene, they were explaining what tunneling is and why it's important for the game. Like, you have to tunnel in Identity 5. And that's why the transition between playing Killer and Hunter are difficult, because if you try to play Killer like you try to play Hunter, you can't play. Like, okay, let's discuss why, though. In Dead by Daylight, here's why tunneling, I don't want to say bad, because if you can pull off a tunnel in Dead by Daylight, you're going to win the match. If you can tunnel the first guy and he's dead before I almost called it a cipher, before fucking 2 gens are done, 2 or 3 gens, then you're going to have such an easier time in the late game. The problem with the strategy is that it's so hard to execute, and there's so many counters like Borrowed Time and Decisive Strike and Medal of Man even. Like, there's so many things survivors can do to not get tunneled. And I think that is caused by a lot of pressure from devs to add a lot of tunneling counters, and then a lot of benefits to killers that don't tunnel, such as Make Your Choice, Barbecue and Chili, lots of perks like that. But the main reason that it doesn't work are that the maps are too small to do it. No, the maps are too small to do it, and that means if you're sitting there in the same general area, you're gonna get gen rushed as you camp the guy. That's just what's gonna happen. They're gonna have by the time you let that guy die, and plus survivors are good at the mind game. So some better teams, if you're face camping somebody, will wait till the last possible minute before before the entity is summoned to come out and make the rescue and out mind game you. Like, they'll just do that if you're face camping because they're better than that. They're better than that, and so they'll just let you do it, and then they'll come out, Borrowed Time, take a hit, and then bam, you lost the guy, and there's 2 gens left, and you still have to down him 2 more times. So it's too slow. It's too slow. Maps are too small. Yeah. And another reason that camping doesn't work in this game, again, like I said, that you'll get gen rushed. In Identity 5, basically none of that is true. Oh yeah, and like another reason that camping and tunneling are bad is, again, if you run the perks, the counter perks for it, like the way you apply pressure in Dead by Daylight is this: you hook somebody, and you use barbecue and chili if you're running that perk. You have information on where everyone is because you hook somebody. You can decide to go. There's 2 people working on gen, and then there's 1 person like kind of coming toward. They get the save. I don't know. So basically, what you could do is intercept the rescuer, and then the other person will have to come make the rescue. That way, there's only 1 person doing a generator. You're chasing somebody, and then there's 2 people trying to get healed up and make the rescue successful. So, and then by the time everyone's done with their role, you should have the next guy down to repeat the process. You need to put pressure on as many members of the team as possible to stop them from doing gens. Oh, in Identity 5, let's say the team is running, I don't know, what's a common meta team? Seer, Perfumer, Mechanic, and Coordinator. You down Seer first. So Seer, I don't know how you did that, but you did it. You're a god. You terror shock Seer at the beginning of the match. You terror shock Seer, and then while you're picking them up, the first cipher goes off. You put Seer in the chair. That is now pressuring 3 survivors already because of debuffs. Coordinator, there is a rescuer who gets a decoding debuff while somebody else is in a chair. Same thing for Mechanic. She gets a debuff while people are in chairs. So because you have a guy chaired, the Coordinator is pressured and the Mechanic is pressured. You're pressuring, and then the other guy's in the chair, so he's pressuring. So you're pressuring the same amount of people just because of their character selection choices and the debuffs that the characters get, if that makes sense. So you're still pressuring, even while you're camping. So, but like the reason that's not a bad thing. Maps are huge. So if you didn't get those debuffs, you would get fucking Cypher rushed way harder than you get gen rushed in Dead by Daylight. If everybody repaired at the same speed and there was only items like toolboxes to increase gen repair speed. Honestly, I think Dead by Daylight should incorporate that. Not that the meta would change, it would just make the killer's job a little easier. If like, when everybody was on the hook, survivors got a 10% debuff on generator repair, that'd be kind of nice. They'd feel it, because if somebody's on hook, that's a total of 30% gen repair. I mean, not asking for the biggest buff in the world, but that's a thing I think Dead by Daylight could steal from Identity 5 and make work. Just the fact that the killer's life is a little easier while they have people fucking hooked. And so basically that means the Coordinator or the rescuer for the team, could be mercenary, but Coordinator is the most common pick, so we're choosing her. Coordinator is going to come in because she can't decode. She has a 60% decode debuff. So Coordinator will do better going for the rescue than sitting on a cipher. Okay, and now here's where the fun part is. Because this interaction between you and the first rescuer as the hunter is the most important thing about the game. You can win the game if you down the Coordinator. If you down that Coordinator and the other guy gets to stage 2, and basically if you can down the Coordinator and wait and get that first guy dead before they have 3 ciphers done, you're gonna win the match. And that like, you may think that sounds simple. Oh, it's not. It's certainly not an easy thing to do. The Coordinator has a flare gun, as mentioned in the last video, that she can come and shoot you with and stun you for 6 seconds. So that rescue is hard to prevent, and that's why Coordinator is the best rescue. She's the most consistent rescue. Like Mercenary his power kind of helps him move around the map and like do chases, and like just make him not get chased and not get down, which is good for a rescuer. You don't want your rescuer getting downed. That's certainly bad. And his power like helps him not take damage as fast, and he can pull off the rescue before getting down. And then Forward, his rescues are much more dangerous, and they require like you to like be there. Like the easiest way to rescue with Forward is when the hunter can't do anything, when they're carrying the guy on the balloons. But like, that means the Forward has to not be decoding. Even though his decoding's not very good, he's the worst at it in the game, actually. Like, he'd still have to be like following you. So like just because you picked forward instead of coordinator, you're losing time anyway. So like what I think is interesting about all this is that like the reason why coordinator is the best is that the survivors are winning the game. If the survivors are winning, you're only gonna get 1 or 2 downs anyway, which is why you don't really need forward. Like, coordinator can pull off the first successful rescue, and if somebody gets downed again, magician or perfumer or even seer can actually act as a rescuer. Their powers help them do that, which is why you don't need forward, because they give them, because like forward doesn't suck ass at decoding and seer doesn't, and you can use seer as a makeshift rescuer if you need him. Like that's why. But yeah, but since those debuffs force survivor or put pressure on multiple survivors, the maps are huge. So, like, realistically, if you go out looking for somebody else as a hunter, you're not gonna find them. Realistically, like, yes, you have whispers, or like it's a little ear in Identity 5. You have whispers, but like there's no barbecue and chili, so you can't track that way. It's better to wait for the coordinator who you know is coming. And honestly, because of those insane debuffs, if they're running coordinator mechanic, like only seer would have a full debuff. Perfumer would. Perfumer was the example. Like, only she would be decoding at max speed, and like, what are they gonna do? Get one cipher done? So even if they wait, you'll still be chasing 3 people with 3 ciphers left. So like, it's better just wait for the guy. And like, it's a hard thing to do. It's hard to consistently win that. The main counter for coordinator is not to face camp. Like, you have to, like, some players run this build that locks on one random survivor and shows you the auras in hopes that they get coordinator. Like, stopping her is that important to the game, that they'll take a 33% chance of being able to do that super easily. Geisha can do it pretty good. She can lock on to people from the air. There's, like, people have some stuff, but you have to go out and meet her, like, halfway, or somehow be able to get a few hits on her. Hell can do it, if you're good with them. But, like, most people make sure that they know how to counter Hell Ember. I guess, a fucking Gatekeeper can do it with max presence. Oh, Gatekeeper's so bad, man. But yeah, that's why camping and tunneling work in Identity 5, because the fact that you're putting more pressure on survivors without even having to see them, which is neat. And again, I think Dead by Daylight can learn a thing or two from that, because survivors are so fucking stupid in Dead by Daylight. I mean, it's not as bad as it once was, but like it's still bad. It's not as bad, and the game is as balanced as it, like, the game is very balanced right now. Most balanced it's been in a long time. But survivors still have the advantage, and like, I think doing more to shrink that advantage would be very neat. I went the complete wrong way. I'm so bad. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about presence, which is something I completely ignored in the last video. Because I mean, I knew about it, but I didn't think it was a talking point. Well, now I understand that it is. Killers don't have specific add-ons, okay? They get buffed midway through the match with something called presence. Basically, the match starts, you don't have any presence. You can run something that accumulates it, or hitting people and putting them in chairs grants you more presence. This is how killers get buffs, essentially. This is how their definition of add-ons. Like, Hell Ember begins to use his puppets with presence. He also gets another thing that he can add. It's not exactly presence, but it's accumulated the same way by doing chases and hitting people. So I think it's called rage. But you can add rage to a puppet and make it move. You can clone yourself with rage. Like, they even added a rage conservation mechanic for when he clones himself, which is actually a pretty neat idea. But there's a lot that they can do with every killer. Feaster, the killer I'm picking up now, the squid guy, he gets this buff where when he has max presence, he can put a curse mark on somebody and the tentacles automatically attack, which is super busted. And he's like, max presence, he's the best killer in the game. Problem is, he can't ever get there. But like max presence, he's absolutely insane. So that's super cool about him. Gatekeeper is actually pretty strong max presence, but again, you're never gonna get there. Joker's rocket goes faster. Photographer, I don't know what he gets max presence. I know he gets that stupid little footprint ability, which doesn't really work. But it can be kind of stupid and cheesy, but it doesn't really work. But like every killer gets buffs based on their presence. And I think, again, that's another neat idea, which, that's why it encourages killers to get hits on people as fast as fucking possible, because you have to get yourself set up and get yourself buffed. Because if you don't, like, barely anybody's viable without presence. But that could be a mistake for a character. Some characters rely on it too much, like Gamekeeper and Feaster. And then some characters could get better rewards off of it. Like, if Photographer got better rewards, like, I've seen some tier lists now where Photographer's moving down to mid-tier. He's not S anymore. Some people even said Photographer was bad in the comments of my video. If Photographer, like, had better abilities at max presence, he would definitely be S tier undisputed. But yeah, so like presence is a thing in the game that I just thought I'd give a little mention. Like characters in Dead by Daylight are buffed from the start of the match based on add-ons. That one's kind of to each your own. Nothing's really like a problem with that. You could argue that Identity 5 needs to make their killers a little stronger early game because fucking they get Cypher rushed if they don't get down, so they need to be stronger at the beginning of the game. But only some do, though. Okay. That's about everything I feel like I left out on the killer side. For Survivor's side, I don't have as much to say. I already talked about the debuffs, which is an important mark I have here. Kiting. I already talked about kiting and why it's really good. But, like, this is why lockers are trash in Identity 5. Like, okay, most standard a standard team in Identity 5 is 1 rescuer, 1 decoder, 2 kiters. Like, a job of a kiter, like, you don't want to lose the killer in Identity 5. You want to kite that fucker as long as fucking possible. So that's why lockers are garbage, because it's not like you want the killer to, like, not see you. Like you don't want him to see you at all times, but like him losing you for a few seconds while you get to the next jungle gym is what you want. So like kiting is better than hiding, whereas in Dead by Daylight you want to like hide a little bit more to make you so the killer will lose you because you're not as powerful, which is that's you're not as powerful in the chase as these survivors are. So, like, hiding is better, so you can self-care. Like, you're a lot of powerful perks in Dead by Daylight. First of all, if it helps in the chase, it's bullshit. Medal of Man's crap, as I said before. But, like, D-Strike's still good. Anti-tunneling, self-care. And then, like, they have exhaustion perks, but, like, Dead Hard, Balanced Landing, which, by the way, Female Dancer just has Balanced Landing. Balanced Landing, Dead Hard, Sprint Burst, like, all those abilities, like, I mean, yeah, they're good, but, like, they're not as stupid as fucking the new fucking character. What's his name? Prospector, who can attach magnets to you and fling you, like, 4 times during a chase. They're not that annoying. They're not that annoying. Like, Prospector has potential to kite the whole fucking game, too. So does Enchantress. And, like, that's the thing. Prospector and Enchantress, both of the new survivors, they have potential to be rescuers and kiters. Like, they have potential to be good at both of them. Which is why those characters are crazy. I don't know if they're OP. I don't know enough about the game. Some people say they're OP and busted. Other people say they're not. So I don't know who to trust there. But, like, that's why you don't see, like, kites that are as long in Dead by Daylight. Because usually, like, you'll lose the killer before you kite them for the whole game. Like, sometimes kiting is a necessity in Dead by Daylight, and that's when the survivors are put at disadvantage. When kiting is necessary. You don't really see kiting. Like, kiting is only a term I heard about through Identity 5. Usually in Dead by Daylight, it's called juking. I mean, Identity 5, you can hear people calling it juking, but, like, in Dead by Daylight, it's mostly juking from my experience. People want to lose you when you're the killer. In Identity 5, people just want to kite you. So, like, Identity 5, the community prides themselves on how long their kites are. Like, 4 cipher kite. That's, like, there's nobody in Dead by Daylight prides themselves on, like, doing, like, a 3-gen kite. I mean, I will in my head because of Identity 5. Like, I kited him for 3 gens. That's cool. But, let's talk about the best thing about Identity 5. The fact that they use characters and not... Well, I mean, they use, like, traits and builds, too. We'll talk about that in a second. But, like, character choice means more in Identity 5. And it gives the hunter information. When you fucking when a team comes up, all 4 of them are playing fucking Claudette, you have no idea what they're running. You have no information as the killer. You have nothing. Except everyone's playing Claudette in same skin. But you know what that means? They're fucking survive with friend commerce. Which, by the way, I hate. I'm sorry, I'm mid-level. You can say get good all you fucking want. I think survive with friends is bad for the game and stupid, and I don't play against it. If somebody comes in, 2 more at the same time, I don't play against it. The only people I've ever seen defend survive with friends are survivors that do it. I've never seen any killer defend that. And you know what? That's my fucking right to not play against that. I don't feel like I have to play against that. The devs say it's cheating. You know how I know the devs think it's cheating? This game is balanced around survivors not being able to communicate. Because there are perks. Like, here's why you can't dispute that. There are perks in Dead by Daylight that allow survivors to see each other's auras. Yes, those perks are bad and useless, but the thing about those perks is that they exist. If this game was supposed to be centered around the survivors talking to each other on voice chat, that wouldn't fucking exist. There wouldn't be a perk that connects you to somebody who rescued you. You can see their aura the whole time all the way across the map. There wouldn't be perks like that if that wasn't supposed to be there. If Survive with Friends was something they were balancing the game around, then the perks like that wouldn't exist. But they do exist, because you're not supposed to be doing it. So, I can't stand Survive with Friends. I think it's cheating. Call me a casual, I don't give a fucking shit. Once this game has a competitive meta, and they release rules on Survive with Friends, then I'll start playing against it or not. But right now, I don't have to do anything I don't wanna. But that's what I like about that's another thing I like about Identity 5 better. Because they have character choices, like, you know what people... Okay, you down somebody as the hunter, you put them in the chair, you're looking at the team, you know who's coming in. Oh, okay, this person's playing mercenary. This person's coming in for the save, at bare minimum. And honestly, if there's 4 guys ganging up on you for the rescue in Identity 5, none of them are decoding, which is what you want. In Dead by Daylight, fucking they can communicate to each other like crazy on Survive with Friends. And like you can communicate to each other through speech bubbles in Identity 5, but I don't have an issue with that, because people that know what they're doing at the game know the next step of the game anyway. Again, when someone's playing 4 Claudettes with the same skin, you don't know anything about what anybody's running. Not that I think you should know. You should discover, in Dead by Daylight especially, you just should discover what they're running in the game. Like, I don't have a problem with that. But, like, character choice gives the hunter more information and makes it a little easier for them to think about what their next play is going to be. It gets them, like, more focused and accurately anticipate what's going to happen next. Whereas, in Dead by Daylight on Survive with Friends, it's a fucking mess, and I don't play against that, because I don't have to. I can just fucking dodge the lobby. And I don't feel any regret about dodging the lobby, because the game isn't balanced around that, so I don't have to fucking play against it. Hate that. I hate fucking survivors going, you suck. You won't play Survive with Friends. You won't fight our 4-man comm. No, I won't. Because I don't feel like I have to. Especially now, when the rankings says it's harder to pip up. Yeah, I have zero tolerance for that, and I don't fucking play it. It's bullshit. So yeah, an Identity 5, even if they're 4-man calming and Identity 5, you know, as a hunter, you know more about their plan and what they have to do based on who they're playing. And that is a good thing for the game. For this genre, giving the hunter as much of a tiny, like, little edge as they can get, because, like, Identity 5 is survivor favored, and so is Dead by Daylight. So instead of having Survive with Friends be stupid, the fact that they have character choices rather than everybody just is a reskin of each other, and you get 4 perks, like, that helps the hunter. That helps the one more than I thought it did. Next, pallets. Pallets aren't as good as I thought they were. Like, yes, some of the looping combinations are retarded and would be stupid if they were in Dead by Daylight. Because that's the thing. When you're playing Identity 5, let's say, like, okay, one of the loops I remember from the last video is, there was a looping spot. I talked about how there are 3 pallets in a circle right next to each other. Let's say you're chasing Mind's Eye at those 3 pallets. Fucking huge vault debuff. If you're chasing Mind's Eye, she can't pallet loop you. Her vaulting is trash! That character can't kite. So, if you're fucking, like, trying to kite with Mind's Eye, you can't loop him. Even at that huge 3 pallet loop. Like, there is enough time for the hunter to get around and terror shock you because of your slow-ass vaulting buff. And that's a good thing, because Mind's Eye's super good at decoding. She deserves to be bad at kiting. You see how this is? They took the survivors of the game and made them characters. Balanced them out. As the same thing they did with the killers in this game. The problem with survivors in this game is their base stats don't change. In Identity 5, each survivor is their own character that gets balanced, buffs, and nerfs. You can nerf survivors individually as well as wholly. And Dead by Daylight doesn't really do that. Like, nerf survivors' base stats. Like, again, the only change they can have onto their generated repair is toolboxes to make it go faster. I'd argue they need some debuffs. It would be nice. So that applies to all the loops. Now, of course, there are characters that can still run you around those loops for days, but it's not every character. And like, this is the thing. In Identity 5, you need to know when to drop a chase. You need to know when to drop a chase in Dead by Daylight too. But like, honestly, if the first character you find is forward or mercenary, drop that chase. You ain't fucking kidding. You ain't down to them. And that forward or mercenary will kite you all over the map. Don't waste your time with them. Just go find somebody else. Like Magician and Perfumer, yeah, they're good at kiting too, but the thing about those characters is, like, they're not gonna fucking, like, they can't run it. Like Forward will just run across the whole map with his ability, and so will Mercenary. Magician and Perfumer can't do that. And that leads me to my next topic, Windows. Windows in Identity 5 are the stupid things, not pallets. Pallets are reasonably balanced, and only characters that can kite, well, you really use those effectively. I mean, yeah, there's some pallet loops that are still annoying. Like, I'm not saying they're bad. They're certainly not bad. But, like, terror shocking, vaulting debuffs, there's a lot that goes into making pallets worse. And that's why there's so many of them. Which is why I was too harsh on the terror shock mechanic in the last video. I complained about all the fucking pallets, and then complained about the counter to them. So I don't know what I was really thinking with that. But, so yeah, pallets are more balanced, and windows are the stupid thing. There's some safe shacks, like, I just feel like hunters vault through the windows way too slow. I feel like they need to fix that. Because I feel like most of the infinite loops created by Identity 5 are created by windows, not pallets. I just think if that game patched out some of those infinites, then we'd be good. I know the infinites exist because they were mentioned on like a tournament video I watched. Like, infinite loops shouldn't exist, and I think they need to really work on balancing the infinite loops. But this is where I think Terror Shot needs a buff. Dead by Daylight has insane hitboxes through the windows in this game. I think a way to like help deal with windows is to like, okay, yes, as I played Identity 5 more, I started noticing that the hitboxes can go through the windows and over pallets sometimes, but like, fuck, stretch it. Survivors are so powerful, they wouldn't die if that was changed. It wouldn't be the end of the world for them. I'd say they need to make the window hitboxes more like the Dead by Daylight ones. That go like completely through the window even after the vault happened for a few seconds. I think that'd be good for the game, and then we would Terror Shock them more reliably. So that's how I did a complete 180 on Terror Shocking. It's not that I like it, I think it's necessary, and I think the mechanics should be buffed. So like, yeah, I like seeing it happen because it's certainly helpful. So, yes, fix the infinite loops. That's the only thing about the game that undisputedly needs to be fixed. Next, I compared the two games, and I didn't even talk about the Blood Web or the Persona Web. I kind of skimmed over the Persona Web, like, very briefly in one video. I don't remember if it was that one. But I said I didn't know enough about it. Well, I know enough about it now. Basically, you get these points by playing the survivors and playing the game and ranking up. You get these points that you can then go spend on the Persona Web, and then you get perks. So like, yes, I said you can only have one perk active at a time, right? Remember when I said that? That's not true. You get one trait active at a time. The traits, I just thought they were perks because abnormal you kick gens. And so like, you can only have one trait active at a time, and the way you do that, and then the way you get the perks is by spending all of these points. Like your character can accumulate up to 100, and then you build specific builds and layouts for your hunter and survivor, because survivors are characters too. You build specific layouts based on what character you are playing. That is super neat. Or of course the Blood Web, you just use it to rank up and then you get traits and items with it. The Persona Web is exactly like... The Persona Web affects you in-game, where the Blood Web does not. I mean, yeah, the Blood Web's where you get your traits and your perks that, like, help you in the game. But, like, the layouts you choose on the Persona Web directly affects how you will play the game. And then, I found no one escapes death. It's called Detention. You get it for 2 minutes after the exit gates are powered. So that's cool. No one's in the game. And they found a way to balance it without making it a hex totem. So I thought that was interesting. And then like fucking Christ, man. There was another thing. Oh, not about the Blood Web. So which one's better? That one's pick your poison. It doesn't really matter. The abnormal trait, though, the act of kicking gens, that actually taught me something about Dead by Daylight. Identity 5 taught me something about Dead by Daylight. And that's, like, how important your chases are, which I already knew that, but, like, Identity 5, I ran the perk abnormal to kick generators, right? Because that's what I know from Dead by Daylight. And if you watch my videos, I kick gens a lot in Dead by Daylight. In probably times I shouldn't really do it. I should be pursuing my chases. I did good there. But like, there's a lot of times I'll kick gens instead of pursuing somebody because I want the gen to start immediately regressing. But like, thing about that is, like, so I ran that forever in Identity 5 because I'm like, this is how I play the game. I want to play the part where I can, like, kick gens. Especially when it's buffed. But like, the thing is, if you're playing a good survivor team, like, there's one person that's acting as a kiter so they can, like, do the gens. Well, you can't drop every chase in Identity 5 because the maps are so big, so you'll just be wasting a lot of time dropping the chase and looking for somebody else to chase. So, basically, if you run the kicking gens perk, you have to assume that you're going to seize advantage state and have more time to kick the gens. Which, in Identity 5, assuming you're going to be able to consistently down those survivors without a blink is a bad idea. Because blinking is probably the best perk trait in that game because it's the one that you'll be using the most to help you out in your chases. Teleport's good too, and a lot of top players run teleport instead of blink. Depends on their killer. Soul Weaver doesn't need blink, she's got too much. But yeah, essentially, that was a good pallet break on Plague. I'm good, man. I'm so good. So the abnormal trait basically taught me to, like, highlight my chases more in Dead by Daylight instead of kicking the gens, which I thought was, just a neat little thing. Very minor point, but... And with that, those are the things I feel like I either changed my mind about or forgot to address. But, like, what's the point of this? Why am I doing it again? Because Dead by Daylight, I've learned, has a lot to learn and a lot to fix. There are things holding Dead by Daylight back. Is it the better game right now? I don't know, man. I've gone from really thinking Dead by Daylight was the better of the two games to being unsure about it. Because when you play Identity 5 and you start looking into the game seriously, the devs take it very, very seriously. There is a tournament happening right now in China called Call of the Abyss 2. It's the global finals. There is a $1 million prize pool for Identity 5. Dead by Daylight's tournaments are on Tide Time's YouTube channel. They don't do shit for Dead by Daylight in terms of tournament gameplay, and like, fucking meta gets spat on with things like the pipping system, which is fucking garbage, poor character design like Ash and Legion. Talk about more about that in a second, but like it just, the game designer's philosophy is the thing holding Dead by Daylight back. Whereas Identity 5, this genre has caught fire in Asia. Like Identity 5, I mean, most of the like, you type in, here's how the difference between the two competitive scenes. Type in Dead by Daylight tournament on YouTube, hit search. Guess what you're gonna find? A bunch of Tide Time videos. Not that Tide Time's a bad guy, and I respect the fuck out of him for trying to make tournaments for this game and make a rule set for it. Something that he obviously cares a whole bunch about. Stop giving the man shit. Leave him alone. He's a really cool guy. But like the thing about Tide Time is that, like, you know, one man can't do it. Identity 5 has their entire, like, gaming engine devoted to their meta. There are characters who get constantly changed, constant buffs and nerfs. They make mistakes like Priestess and Soul Weaver. They buffed Soul Weaver back when she was bad, and now they can't nerf her. They nerfed her twice, and she's still fucking busted S tier. They tried. So, like, they make mistakes. They're not infallible. But, like, at least, fuck, they're trying. Dead by Daylight goes, "Hey, Legion, I'm gonna add Legion to the game because I want to see Deep Wounds go off. I want to add Plague to the game because I want to see her on somebody." Yo, yeah, you want to see her on somebody, but guess what? Balance it. Make it competitively viable to on somebody. The problem with the Plague right now is that she doesn't have the right add-ons to make her kit function in the metagame. Something which it does. Oh, right, the metagame doesn't matter, right? Because it's more important to make killers who are fun versus competitively viable. Something which we talked about in the last video again. Talked about that already. About how they fucking like to design characters based off their fun factor. Identity 5 says fuck that. They design their characters with the intent for them to fit in with the metagame. Like, the fucking player base of the two games. Absolutely crazy. Like, Dead by Daylight's player base, okay, you got guys like fucking True Talent who can analyze the game and know it and study it, and like Tide Time, again, people that study the game, analyze it, and they like You have people who want to take Dead by Daylight as a competitive game seriously. There are people who want to do it. I'm one of those people. I think Dead by Daylight... I want... My dream is for Dead by Daylight to get the same treatment that Identity 5 is getting right now from its developers. The care, the passion that Identity 5 has from the developers to make the game a competitive success. Hosting tournaments. Fucking... There's commentary from players. There's analysis. Like, there's gameplay with commentary from people that know the game and study it. Persuable has his own tournaments too. Like the player base on Identity 5 are people that want to get fucking better. I'm not saying that True Talent and them don't want to get better. But there's like 5 Dead by Daylight YouTubers. There's like the Noob, there's True Talent, Ocheeto, the King, and I know I'm forgetting one. True Talent. Those are like the fave 5. For Identity 5, you look up their top players. They have a YouTube channel. Top Geisha has one. Top Hellember has one. They post their gameplay. They post their rank matches all the time. These are people that want to get fucking better and who want to study the game and make it. And all these players, all these top players that have YouTube channels. Well, I mean, Hellember's just bad, and plus, I think Call of Duty's Chinese, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure, but like, they were at that fucking regional final. Fucking, like, there were crews there competing to go to China for the fucking tournament that's happening right now. Like, the player base cares. They care so much about it. And like that's the kind of thing that's been driving me to play Identity 5 more than Dead by Daylight recently. Just like the devs care about the game as a competitive format. The fucking player base cares and wants to get better. They have footage. Persuable. The guy has hours of content on his channel studying the characters. Hosting his own tournaments. Again, Tide Time does that too. But like he gets the top players. It's easy to know who the top players are because of the rankings. So you'll like. That's another thing I like. It's so honest. There's a ranking system. The ranking system is not, oh, you're at rank 1, cool, good for you. No, you're a fucking dragon and you play dragons, and you can only rank up against dragons. And you get benefits from being in Dragon, like more in-game currency. There's drive to do it. There's drive to get better in-game. They fucking care, man. And, like, again, they make mistakes, but, like, Identity 5 would never have put Legion in the game the way he was before. And, like, so you got all that care and attention. That's my main point. Care and attention being put into everything that the Identity 5 people do in terms of developing the team, getting people to commentate the meta, and commentate their huge tournaments that they have. Like, getting people to participate in all that. Then you got Dead by Daylight going, oh, it might be fun if we have the Plague puke on people. I love the Plague. I think she's really fun. I said that in my tier list. I love her. But, like, the fact is, she's poorly designed. She's not very good. Her add-ons are poorly designed. They thought Corrupt Purge was going to be better than it was, and it's not. And half her add-ons suck because of it. Because of the devs' mistake, Plague add-ons suck. Because of the new pipping system that the devs implemented, Leatherface sucks. Legion was a fucking mess. With deep wounds, the cheese, the moonwalk exploits you could do with that motherfucker. Again, I didn't hate Legion. I don't really, but like, I get so frustrated because you see Identity 5, a simple free game for the App Store, fucking outplaying Dead by Daylight in terms of the care that they have and the passion to see it thrive as a competitive game. And it just frustrates me because, like, I still think Dead by Daylight has the potential to be the better game. But right now, as a competitive game, Identity 5 is the much better game. There's much more to dip your feet in. There's much more to watch. There's much, much more. Whereas if you're going to watch competitive Dead by Daylight, you're going to watch True Talent, Tide Time, and, like, the 5 YouTube channels that give a fuck about it. And then we all hate Ocheeto because he's a meme. At least Ocheeto loved the game. At least Ocheeto pushed the meta. Fuck! Oh, Cheeto pushed the meta and was banned for it because he was using exploits. Banning tech because of their poor design? No. You know what you do? You go in there and you give the character a reasonable nerf. Instead, that's what you do. Exploits. Banning people for using Legion tech. Whose fault is it that Legion was a problem? The devs' fault. I say this respectfully because the Dead by Daylight devs created this genre and made it work and popularized it. So like, I haven't played the endgame collapse yet. I don't know how that impacts the meta. The endgame collapse looks really fun. Looks like it's a really good idea. It looks chaotic and it looks fun, which is what this whole game is. It's supposed to be chaotic and fun, and the endgame collapse looks chaotic and fun. But like, here's the thing about the endgame collapse. Like, do you think what does that do for the pig? It's gonna get the pig nerfed. Because they think the pig's gonna be top tier broken OP because she can keep people in the match with her reverse bear traps. Isn't the timer for that 2 minutes, not 3? I don't know. But like, basically, Amanda can confirm her kills if she... I don't fucking know, man. Before they nerf the reverse bear traps to help make people allowed to leave the game with them on. That's probably what they'll do. Because the endgame collapse is so, like, what they're pushing right now. I mean, I don't care. I haven't played it yet, so I don't know. But, like, you just look at Dead by Daylight and its history. From all the way from the sabotage meta to pre-patch decisive strike to fucking Nurse. I love Nurse and she takes a lot of skill to play, but that don't mean she ain't broke. Nurse being able to go through everything. Pre-patch decisive almost killing the game and their reluctance to change it, their reluctance to fix it, took 2 years for them to give it a reasonable fix. And as soon as they fix it, they don't tap out fully, they put Metal Man in the game. Don't buff the killers that suck dick and have sucked dick since game 1. Tap out to people saying, Freddy's broken! Freddy's broken! After 1 week. Did you learn the Freddy Krueger matchup, motherfucker? No, you didn't. I bet Freddy would be a mid-tier right now if they didn't nerf him. Bet my damn life on it. Or, you know what? Like, my point still stands. Was pre-patch Freddy better than Nurse? Do you know how unlikely that is? Do you know how unlikely it was that pre-patch Freddy was better than Nurse? If pre-patch Freddy would still be better would be better than Nurse today, I'll cut my fucking pinky off, dude. There's no way pre-patch Freddy is better than Nurse. So like this design, this philosophy holds Dead by Daylight back, and Identity 5 is not restricted by that. They're not restricted by that at all. And like, is it unfair for me to like I guess it's kind of unfair to me to point out that the sabotage meta was poor design because they fixed it. And like, again, the genre was so new that of course they were going to make mistakes. So like, and like, I think one of the best things about the Dead by Daylight team is they are not afraid to try new things. And they're not afraid to like, because like, they keep pushing the envelope. They keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And I think that's respectable about them. But like, the thing about it is, I just wish they cared a tiny bit more about the game's meta. And the people that... It's the same issue that people have with Smash Brothers. And how, like, they fucking... Like, Sakurai went to a tournament where Zero Suit Samus and Meta Knight got to the finals, up air chaining, up being each other off the top. Next patch, both of those characters nerfed. Again, I mean, you could argue that those characters, I mean, yeah, they were good, but here's the thing. Were they the best in the game? No. The problems in the game at that time were fucking Sheik. Sheik was the problem at that time in the game's meta, in Smash 4. But they didn't nerf Sheik. They didn't fix her for, like, another few patches. And then Bayonetta came out and destroyed the game. But, like... And then they didn't fix her. They didn't fix Bayonetta. So, like, just... Ugh. It frustrates me because it's the same reason that the pig frustrates me. Dead by Daylight has the potential to be, like, the king of this genre. And because of the developers' philosophy and how they refuse to, like, start taking it seriously and, like, making killers based around the competitive format of the game. They just, like, their reluctance, and, like, they release stuff like Legion and Ash. I think Ash is a poorly designed mess. I think, again, Identity 5 hasn't messed with that process yet, and I like that about them, too. They haven't fucking messed with that. But, like, in terms of getting your feet wet in a fucking metagame for this genre, Identity 5 is your best bet. I'm not gonna lie, people. And I've been enjoying that game so much lately because of the fact that the player base takes it seriously. And like, ever since I started uploading Identity 5 content, I've got more comments than ever. Not that I get a lot, and I don't want them. Like, I'm not saying that. But, like, the thing about it is, like, the Identity 5 community wants to help each other. And, like, they're not nearly as toxic. Like, Dead by Daylight, one of the biggest reputations is the toxicity of the community. Like, yeah, I don't doubt that there's toxicity in Identity 5, and I don't doubt that there's people that get frustrated when survivors go down, because, like, when survivors go down in Identity 5, it's so much worse. It's so much bigger of an issue. But, like, the thing about it is, people, like, I think this is a story of what effort can do. And what, just like, you may not have, like, it's kind of similar to how Marvel has nothing in terms of characters, but, like, they built up their characters over time and made people care about them. Because, like, when I was a kid, Marvel was nothing. Marvel was a joke. Like, they had the Hulk and Spider-Man, and that's it. But, like, they had the weaker roster compared to DC, but they built up their characters. They built up their characters over time. Oh, they kept building them up, and now Marvel characters are household names. And if, like, it's the same thing. Identity 5 has the weaker of the characters. I mean, like it or not, like, they don't have Michael Myers, they don't have Freddy Krueger, they don't have Leatherface or Jigsaw, and the killers in Dead by Daylight being associated with those 4 movie characters helps them. And that's why I don't understand people that don't want more licensed killers. Having the Plague and the Wraith be next to a Michael Myers is good for them. And it helps them get over with people. Part of my wrestling terminology now. I'm bringing tons of shit. Like, it helps them. The Identity 5 has the weaker roster. But, like, through their story mode and the game design, they built up their roster. They built it up, and now they have me completely invested because of the care that they show for their roster. Where it's just poorly designed messes like Ash Williams, like, that doesn't impress me. That makes me frustrated that they would again attempt another perk like that. Even though, again, granted, it's much better designed than the original Decisive Strike, but it's still a problem because it shreks the killers that rely on their basic attacks, and you can have 4 of them in a match again. We're back to the problem we had when Decisive Strike came out. Granted, I haven't played a match with 4 Metal of Mans in it yet, but, like, oh, it bothers me, man. It bothers me because Dead by Daylight, they could pioneer this genre, and in a lot of ways they do. They pioneer it for the bad things and things you shouldn't do. Identity 5 makes their gameplay off of correcting Dead by Daylight's mistakes. And I think that puts it better, that phrases it better than anything, man. Identity 5 makes their living off of correcting the mistakes made by the Dead by Daylight devs. I see why people get frustrated with Dead by Daylight. I see why people leave it, because they don't fucking care. The devs don't care. Say it respectfully, but like, why should I hide the fact that they don't care about the meta if I see that they don't care about the meta? With Identity 5, you can see that they care. And like, the fact that they care and the fact that they're trying means when they make mistakes, I'm more willing to forgive them. As opposed to when they release Legion, it's like, motherfucker, did you even test this guy? Did you even try to see if he worked correctly? Did you even think for a second when you released pre-patch Decisive Strike? Or, especially Ash, because, like, yeah, Decisive Strike was a mistake, but, like, Ash is a mistake that shouldn't have happened. Granted, he's a lot better and not broken. See my Metal of Man analysis before you comment Ash is not broken. So I'm less willing to forgive the devs of Dead by Daylight because they fuck up all the time. Like, Identity 5 even fixed hatches, because if you chair somebody, you have enough time to find the guy, and the crows spawn immediately, so, like, even the hatch standoffs aren't as bad, man. It's just frustrating. Like I said, I love both games, and, like, I don't think one is better than the other anymore. That's the short version on that. I think they're both equally good. I just wish Dead by Daylight took themselves more seriously as a competitive game. That's what I'm trying to say through all this. Comprende?